Legendary actress Marilyn Monroe has been entertaining fans since the 1950s, and her fame has continued even since her death in 1962. But what a lot of people don't know about her is her troubled childhood in and out of foster homes and even an orphanage. We explored Hollywood to see some of the locations where young Marilyn Monroe, then Norma Jeane Baker, grew up. We're standing outside of Hollygrove, which was once the Los Angeles Orphan Home where young Norma Jeane was taken when she was 9 years old. Her mother had recently been committed for schizophrenia, and Marilyn witnessed her being dragged off by the men in the white coats, and it was a very traumatic experience for the young Norma Jeane. As a child, 9-year-old Norma Jeane was taken by her Aunt Grace, her mom's best friend, here to the Los Angeles Orphans Home. And when she saw the sign, she freaked out, screaming that she was not an orphan and that there had been some mistake because her mother was still alive. When Marilyn was a child, she would use her allowance that they would give out on Saturdays so that she could go to the nearby Grauman's Chinese Theater and watch movies there all day long. A lot of times she'd get in trouble for being gone too long. It was there that she idolized Jean Harlow, and she became obsessed with Jean Harlow and would later emulate her in her own career. She'd also watch movies with Clark Gable, and as a child she saw a photo of her biological father and once thought he looked like Clark Gable, and so she started to assume her father was really Clark Gable. She later worked with Clark Gable in The Misfits, which was both of their last completed film. They both died right after making the movie. Marilyn would often look out her window at night and see the Hollywood sign nearby and also see the RKO studio tower, and she knew that her mother had worked at RKO as a film cutter, so it brought a lot of turmoil to her life that she was here at the orphans home when she could have been with her mother. She would go to the nearby Vine Street Elementary School and walk there every day, and the other kids would kind of look at her because she was wearing an orphan's uniform. The original Los Angeles Orphans Home was torn down and is now in this new building, but it still serves as a home for children, and it's called Hollygrove. Ironically, a 20-year-old Norma Jeane would end up living just a few blocks away from the orphanage where she spent a lot of troubled years as a child. Designed in 1926 by Julia Morgan, the same woman that did the Hearst Castle, Marilyn lived here at the Studio Club on and off for several years. A young Marilyn Monroe lived here in room 334 for about a year, and she spent kind of a troubled time here. At one point, she was walking down the street and a policeman pulled her over, saw her driver's license and her address, and later that night attempted to attack her in her room at the Studio Club. But luckily neighbors heard her screaming and saved her. He signed at the studio nearby, and they'd come and go at their own pace, and it was only about $12 a week for her to live here. She actually ended up needing $50 to pay her rent, and she posed nude for a photographer friend who had offered her money several times, Tom Kelly, and that photo was eventually sold to the Golden Dreams calendar, which Hugh Hefner eventually bought and put in the first issue of Playboy magazine. And when the magazine was released, by the time she was famous, she was mortified and thought it would ruin her career, but in fact it only made her more famous. What was once a chaperone dormitory for aspiring actresses at the nearby Sunset Gower Studios is now run by the YWCA to help advance job placement. Marilyn Monroe's story is inspiring to have come from so very little and become one of the most famous actresses of all time.